The second kind of love that I'm going to talk about is hard love. And hard love is oftentimes not felt as love, but it's love as well. By definition, love is what's useful. Lots of things are useful, and if they don't feel good, it's hard love, okay? So everything that's useful to you that doesn't feel good is hard love. I also like to call it dentist love. So you go to the dentist, it's useful to you, but it doesn't feel good, okay? Cranking out a college education that doesn't feel good, doing all that studying, but it allows you to achieve a goal, that's also hard love, okay? Wanting to be an author and working a job as a waitress that kills your feet and you really don't like it and you get shitty tips anyway, but it lets you get enough money that you do have enough time to focus on your book, that's a job of hard love, okay? Many, many, many things in life that we do don't feel good, but they're necessary to reach an objective. And because they're useful to reach an objective, they're useful to our lives in some way, it's love. Okay? But it's hard love, and you can't maintain hard love. It's not sustainable. Okay? If you continue hard love past the point of its usefulness, then it starts becoming damaging. Okay? It's like going to the dentist every week, even though you don't really need to. People do this, actually. Okay? Hard love is a great part of love. A lot of our life is about hard love. But remember, it's only something to have as long as it's useful. The minute it's no longer useful, it's no longer love. It's just hard. It's just hard and destructive. Okay? Now, a lot of our relationships are hard love. Okay? And we can't underestimate the value of hard love. Meaning relationships that don't feel good, but which are useful to you in what they do to you. They somehow make you a better person. Okay? And my first love was a hard love. It was like an epic hard love. And one of the other things I read when I read about that all love is based on utility was that Yogananda also wrote, it's remarkable how a 6-foot-tall man can be put down by a woman's 6-inch tongue. I'm like, that's not really possible, you know? He was wrong. I found out a year later that, since I'm almost 6'2", that a woman's 6-inch tongue can actually take down someone over 6 foot tall even. Okay? Hard love, it's a beautiful thing. And when I went into my first relationship, I had a lot of weaknesses. I had a lot of, I wasn't clear about what I was here for. And that little fruit ninja tongue of hers was able to chop me up into little pieces, throw me on the curb, and then I got to put myself back together. And through that, I discovered things that I would have never discovered about myself. Discovered some of the most important things about myself. Okay? But there was a point where being cut into little bits and pieces wasn't going to be useful anymore for me. And that's when that hard love had to end. But it was true love. It wasn't committable, sustainable love, but it was true love because it was useful. Okay? So, hard love is something that's so useful. We're such a product of, so much of us is a product of hard love. Okay? And not a byproduct of hard love. And the actual product, the end result, the goal, the reason it happened in the first place. The reason you go to the dentist is for the pain that's going to help you. The reason I had my first relationship was for the pain that was going to help me. That was the purpose, the intention, the product to come out of it. It's not a byproduct, it's the central focus. Okay? It's not like you go to the dentist to hang out and actually have an hour to rest in a nice comfy chair, and as a byproduct you get your hurt tooth fixed. You go there for getting your tooth fixed. Okay? But like all loves, it's important to recognize when it's love and when it's not. If it gets to a point where it's not useful anymore, it's no longer love and it's time to let it go. Okay? A lot of people involve themselves with hard love They might think it's hard love and say, oh, this is hard. And you go, is it changing you? Is it transforming you? Is it good for you? No, then it's not love. You shouldn't be there. Okay? It's like going to the wrong dentist. That just messes your mouth up more. Now, hard love is something we give and receive. Okay? And we give hard love in lots of ways. We might give hard love as discipline to our children. We might give hard love to other people that we care about by, putting them in very difficult circumstances that force them to do something they wouldn't have done. One of my most beautiful relationships was with a woman who was wonderful to me, absolutely accepting, absolutely caring, there for me any moment, real nice Venetian type love. It feels good, it's caring, it was useful at times, and I gave her hard love back. She wanted, she wanted something from me. She wanted love and care and adoration and cherishing and attention, and I didn't give her any of it. I just talked to her, and when she wanted more, I said bye. And when she wanted more, I said bye again. And there's times where she was in such a pained state with herself that I thought there was a good chance she wasn't going to make it through the night. And I said bye. And the reason I did that, because I can tell that she was trying to get a feeling from me instead of gaining the strength she needed, that her life needed her to have. So I gave her hard love instead, for years. Hard love, hard love. And I wouldn't give her the love she wanted, the care she wanted. Even though she was being so caring to me about anything, And now she thanks me. She goes, thanks for not giving me what I wanted from you back then. Because she loves the woman she's become because she didn't get what she thought she wanted. And she embraced the hard love. She worked with it. She grew through it. It changed her. It was useful to her. So relationships are interesting. You can have somebody being warm and kind to you, and you'll give them hard love, and it's love because it's useful for both people. Okay? She was helping me with things. She was useful in countless ways. Anything I needed, boom. I was trying to find something on the internet, I couldn't. I'd say, have you ever heard of this? 5 minutes later, it's in my inbox. Saves me hours of work, and she had a magic touch to find things on the internet. So, love's such an interesting thing, all the forms it can come in. So, this is hard love. We give it, and we receive it. And it's something we have to keep a really keen eye on. Is this useful? Like say, we're giving hard love, and we know we're hurting that person. We know what the person is hurting them. They're not getting what they want, or we're pushing them in a certain way. Is it useful to them? And we watch. Are they changing? Okay? So they come for something, you say no. 2 weeks later, they come for something, they say no. 3 weeks later, they come for something, you say no. 5 weeks later, they come for something, you say no. Wow. Every time they're able to last a little longer without coming to you. They're getting a little stronger every time. This is love. It's useful. It's helpful to them getting stronger. But if every time they come to you and you say no, and 3 days later they come to you and they say no, and 2 days later they come to you and you say no, and then 30 minutes later they come to you and say no, and 5 minutes later, obviously this hard love is not helping them. It's not love. It's not useful to them. So you have to always watch your results with hard love. You go to the dentist, he works on you. Was that useful? Did the dentist do what really needed to be done? If not, don't go back to that dentist, right? So it's important with hard love to inquire, is this useful to us? Okay? Is what I'm doing to them useful? And hard love is rarely a two-way street. And there's different versions of hard love. Okay? The hard love I had with that girl, it was hard love to her, Venus, caring, love that could be maintained, that was useful. And that also felt really nice and comforting and caring. Okay? So sometimes hard love is paid with something nice, like you go to the dentist, and the dentist, he's being useful to you and it hurts you. You're being useful to him because you're paying him. So you're useful to him. And he goes, oh God, I got so much money I can make my house payment, pay my medical bills off. This feels good, And he's making a lot of money per hour, so it's like, wow, this feels good. I never thought I could make this much money an hour. And my patient is very useful to me. Okay? The difference is, he can see 1,000 patients a year and experiences he's having committable, sustainable love with all of his patients together, one at a time, who's giving him what he needs, and it feels good to him over and over and over again. But it has to be lots of patients. If one patient was going there every year to pay his bills, that patient would die on the in the dental chair one day, because it would just be too much injections, too much whatever. It wouldn't be sustainable. Eventually he wouldn't be able to make it there anymore. He'd be so traumatized of the dentist. So sometimes in exchange for hard love, a person might get nice love. Okay? Doesn't have to be fair in the sense of, oh, I give you this and you give me that. No, it's, I give you hard love, you give me Venus love, you give me sustainable love, I'll give you hard love. Okay? I'm much nicer to that girl now. I have more of a Venetian relationship with her where I can be nice to her and caring to her because it doesn't hold her back anymore. And I know now that if she reaches out for me, she really needs a friend. I do my best to be there for her. Whereas before I knew she didn't need a friend, she needed to get stronger. And I gave her no other option. So, hard love can be paid in something nice. Or it might not be paid for at all. Like when you discipline your children, you're giving them something hard to force them to grow. And they're not giving you anything back. They're just becoming better, healthier, stronger people. The next love we're going to talk about, the Jupiter love, is the love of charity. That's when you give love and you get nothing back in return. It's the one-way street. So hard love can be a two-way street, or it can be a one-way street, where someone just gives you something hard and gets nothing in return, or you give somebody something hard and they get nothing in return. So the dentist goes, yeah, I'll do it for free. And you're like, really? Yeah, I get it. You really need that help. You don't have money. You don't have insurance. Just come onto my office tomorrow and I'll work you out for free. It's like, wow, you're going to give me hard love and I don't even have to give you anything back. Okay? That happens. I have a friend who needed a major surgery, not a major, but an expensive surgery. And she found a doctor who realized she had no money and just said, okay, I'll give it to you. Don't sweat it. I can do this for you. So it can be charity. The most common type of hard love in relationships is, I'm going to be hard on you and you're going to be hard on me. It's going to be useful to you, it's going to be useful to me, and it doesn't feel good for either of us. And that's love too. Because it's useful to you. Okay? Now one of the beautiful things about love is that it's bonding. It makes that person feel like they're part of you. Okay? And so, because you're having a relationship based on love. And even though parts of you are hating it and it doesn't feel good, if it's useful, it's love. And if it's love, it's bonding. I love my dentist. I really just look forward to seeing him. I feel like I have a bond with my dentist, believe it or not. I feel he's a very caring, important person in my life, and he hurts me like no one else. And but even in our human relationships, the people give us hard love. We have a bond with them. The bond that we have with people is based on how useful they ultimately were to us. It's like our soul is going, it doesn't matter that you hurt this little ego here. You're bonded to me. We've had an alchemical process of change that has made us part of each other. And now there's a bond that is not going to be broken because that person transformed something in you. And everywhere you go, you're taking that transformation with you. That was the result of that person's alchemy in your life. Okay? So, Hard love is really beautiful. If it's true, if it's hard love, if it's true and it does make you better. But then there's hard love that doesn't help you, meaning that's not hard love. Then there's hardships, people doing things to you, hurting you, and you're not feeling good, and it's not helping you. Okay? There's no love there at all. You just need to evacuate. There's no love there. It's an interesting thing to choose hard love. But we need to. We should make conscious choice about hard love too. I remember when I was leaving the ashram after being there about 8 months, during which I really focused a lot on learning Vedic astrology. And I was getting ready to leave and start my Vedic astrology practice and become really good friends with the monk there who'd lived there for over 25 years. And he called me into the office. He goes, "I know you're leaving soon." And he just sat me down there and he lectured me for an hour. Don't do this, don't do this, don't get into this kind of trouble, don't get into this trouble. I just looked at him and I said, "Don't worry." I looked at my chart. I'm not going to have any fun out there. I said, I'm going into one of the worst periods of my entire life over the next 18 months. He said, "Really?" I said, "Really?" He goes, "Okay, good, you can go." And what I had seen in my chart was that I was going to have a really, really hard love relationship. And I just was no avoiding it. And I had to just go through it. And I did. I said, I know this is going to be hard. I know this isn't going to feel good. And I know for some reason I need this thing. And I embraced hard love. And it's an important thing to do because we're a product of all kinds of love, including hard love. But be sure it's love. Be sure it's not self-abuse. And how do you tell? It's useful to you. It makes your little muscles that you don't know you have hurt, and then you use them and you become capable of something you weren't able to. It's useful to you because finally you're able to stand up and tell someone you're feeling. It's useful to you because finally you argue with someone instead of being the sweet, demure, shut down person. It's useful to you because somehow you do something different. You do something different than the things that were keeping you stuck. Okay? It was useful to you because it shows you I'm not that, I'm this. But if that's not happening, it's not love. It's just some form of self-abuse. It's a mis-idea of love. And we're going to talk a lot about, in the last few videos, about how we work and select relationships based on ideas of love that are not love. So for instance, if you were abused as a child, you're going to consider abuse love. You're going to seek out people who are abusers because you want the abuser to love you. And you want to love the abuser because you want your parents to love you. And you want to love your parents. You want to love your parents and make them feel better. So you fall in love with the abuser, and you don't want to make the person who can be made happy. You want to make the abuser feel happy. And no matter how much you try, it doesn't help them, and you still just get abused. It's not love, but it feels like love. These are the definitions we're working under. So we always have to ask ourselves, is this useful? Okay? And the answer is no, it's not love. Stop. Don't do it. Go to the last love, the Saturn love, which we'll talk about more, but which simply put is love them and leave them. Okay? That's the love that can save your life. So, I think that makes hard love pretty clear. It's just such a simple thing. And realize it can be a two-way street. It can be along the side of Venetian Street, meaning, okay, you're getting something nice that you could keep forever because it feels good and it's useful. And you're giving hard love, or they're giving you hard love, and you're giving them something nice. That's possible too. Okay? Or someone can just be giving you hard love for free. They're not getting anything back. Nothing you do is useful to them. Nothing you have is useful to them. But for some reason, they have the charity, which is the abundance, to give you hard love, and it changes you, and it's useful to you, or it helps you somehow, like going to the dentist for free. Okay? There's a great astrologer. He's by great, I mean a wonderful being. Not just he can do astrology well, which is really secondary to being a wonderful being. His name's K.S. Chark, and he's a surgeon. He loves astrology. He's written a few books back in the 90s. He was most active in writing books. And he goes and he sets up these surgical camps in rural parts of India where people have no medical care. And he'll go there and perform dozens of surgeries in a week, all for free, giving hard love for free, you know. So, and he loves it. It feels good to him. We'll talk more about the Jupiter love. So realize that this hard love is not always so straightforward, but it's very easy to discern it. It doesn't feel good, and it's useful. It's that simple. Okay? Now, the secret to having hard love, for hard love to work for you, you know, because you want the committed love to work for you. And we talked about how committed love only works for you if you know who you are. Otherwise, you can't commit to the love that's right for you. Okay? Hard love only works for you based on your moon. Your moon is your ability to adapt and change. The moon rules the evolution of life. It rules why the things in the desert are different than the things in the swamplands, you know? Because the pressures of those different environments, the life has to adapt and evolve to that. The environment is an environment that a big aspect of it is hard love. Yes, the environment also has things that the animal can eat and if it's sustainable, committable love. But every environment has an element of hard love in it. Same in our life. Every relationship we have is going to have an element of hard love in it because that's the environment of this world. Committable love, hard love, we're juggling a ton of stuff. And that environment, that pressure of that environment, that harshness of the environment that the life form is not equipped to survive in, forces the life form to adapt and be happy in that environment and to thrive in that environment. So our moon is our ability to adapt to the realities, to what's really happening, and to find happiness there. Okay? A person who's unable to adapt, who can't find happiness in a situation, will be getting strained and broken by hard love. Instead of growing from the hard love and adapting and evolving into a happier being, they get destroyed by it. The same way, think of all the countless life forms out there during which there is environmental changes like the dinosaurs, you know? They couldn't adapt, they couldn't evolve, and they got extinct. So many species have become extinct that we have no idea even existed. So each organism has its own ability to adapt. And those that have a high ability to adapt, they will enjoy hard love. They will thrive in hard love. They have the ability to become happy in any circumstance. It didn't bother me going out and knowing I was going into a really tough relationship when I left that ashram. It didn't bother me at all because I knew I would be happy anyway. I knew that no matter how I was getting hammered on in that relationship, every day I would have something to smile about, you know? Because I had found I could adapt in extreme hardships, okay? But some people have a greater difficulty in adapting. What's the answer? Well, let's look at the moon sign. It's Cancer. See, we can always find the answers in the astrology. It's a perfect map of our psychology. The moon rules Cancer. That's the sign of the crab crawling out of the ocean onto the land, the ocean life, adapting to the land life. And the planet that's exalted, which means does the best in Cancer, is Jupiter, which is the planet of faith. And it's a planet of wisdom, but it's so much the planet of faith. Recognizing that I trust in this process. I trust in the greater life, that whatever's happening to me is what I really need. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to surrender to that and allow it to do what it needs to do to me. I'll be in pain for 20 years. I'll be in pain for 2 seconds. And surrender and embrace it, because I know that there's a part of me that has the faith that it's just, that this is going to somehow work out. It's what I need. You know, I have this philosophy that I made up for myself, and I think it's a really sound and useful philosophy. So I hope you all find it that way and love it. And that is that God obviously doesn't care about our egos. You know, it's obvious, right? What God cares about is that when we leave this earth, we're at the highest point of evolution possible. So we come in at some point in this lifetime, we're born, and God's arranging our life so that we're as evolved, we make as much progress as we possibly can the day we die. And that's his end game. And he's not really concerned about the middle game and the opening game and the middle game. He's concerned about that end game. How am I going to get Ernst, this person, that person, to their highest state of self-awareness to achieve the greatest capacity for love that they can the day they die. And that gives me so much faith to get through the day, to get through the year, to get through the life. And I see it over and over again. I saw it this summer when I was taking care of my dad, who's gotten really mental, dementia, severe dementia, unable to take care of himself. I'm like thinking, wow, why does this happen to a person? And I thought to myself, my dad would never let anyone take care of him. His whole being was against anyone doing anything for him or helping him. His whole being saw somebody helping him as a sign of personal weakness that he could not show, he could not demonstrate. So he's pushing everyone away. He's cutting everyone off from anyone giving him any good, any comfort his entire life. And now he's not in healthcare, he's not in a nursing home, but he's in a place of complete dependence. Getting support and care from people who love him, who he could never recognize that they loved him. Because to be loved, to be cared for was an affront to his dignity. And he's stuck there. It's probably going to be a couple of years of him stuck there, getting abused with care, having no choice but accept care. And a part of him doesn't even know, because a part of him is checked out. But I know his cells know, and that the part of him that's moving on knows, wow, people can actually care. That's like going to shock him, wake him up. This is a huge part of his evolution. It's a beautiful part of his evolution to be this demented person. So God only cares about one thing. And when we understand that, we start seeing life as this beautiful process of hard love, charitable love, sustainable love, of whatever type of love it is. So we have to evolve. And the way we allow ourselves to evolve is to surrender to the experience, to surrender to the moment. One of the things I love about Hinduism is all the crazy stories that are just saying, yeah, see, God was pulling your little strings the whole time. We need to have faith that God is pulling my strings. God can make us jump in any direction, to any height, anytime he wants. If he wants you to jump into a vat of oil, he will. If he wants you to jump out of the ashram into a marriage, he will. And people will criticize you. People will say, what a loser. But he's just got one goal in mind. Your awareness the day you kick the bucket. Okay? So we need to find an avenue of faith. That's the key to us allowing ourselves to evolve and adapt and change. Without that, we're like, eek. And then the blows come and crack us and splinter us into nothing. Instead of having the flexibility of clay to get molded into a more beautiful version of ourselves, which is what hard love's purpose is. Okay? So when the master sculpture comes for you, and it doesn't feel good, let it be useful to you. Find how it's useful to you. And surrender to it, adapt with it, go with the flow and find the outcome. Don't fight it, don't resist it, don't hold against it. You'll just get broken. And every time you get broken, it's going to be harder the next time because you don't have the experience of, wow, hard love is beautiful. Hard love is bonding. Hard love is the deep caring of the soul. Where the soul's saying, I don't care about your ego anymore. Enough games. I'm really here for you in a way that most people won't want to be because it's going to make you hate me, right? So, hard love's a beautiful thing. And this is how we have to handle it. But always make sure it is love. That the hard thing you're doing is helping a person. The hard thing to happen to you as you surrender to it is helping you somehow. Just like in the committed love. Is the caring, feel-good thing you're doing helping the person? Is it making them a better version of themselves? Or is it a drug? Are you feeding their addiction? We always have to look for these two things. Is it helpful or enabling? Is it helpful or is it destructive? Okay? So I hope everyone can appreciate the beauty of hard love. I see lots of people trying to appreciate it. Oh, but it was good for me, and they're grudgingly saying it. I'm like saying, no, you say it's good for you, want to cry for love for that person who abused you or gave you the hard love because you know they formed you into a person that you love more. Hard love forms us into a person we can have more respect for, a person we can love more, a person we can have we can have a better relationship with. So it's extremely valuable. And the people who choose to give it to us are our best friends, right? Ours is our teammates. They're the ones that ultimately are saying, I'm here to help you win the game. And that's what hard love can do for us. Okay? But we need to understand it. We need to be clear that we're choosing it consciously. If not, we're going to blame and be a victim. Oh, they did this and this to me. If it's in your life, it won't last forever. It's not sustainable. Once your evolution is complete on that level, it will end or have to transform into a new kind of love. But while you're in it, realize it's love. And if you do, and you witness what it does to you when you're done with it, you'll go, I had true love with my dentist. I had true love with that person. They helped make me the most of what I can be in a beautiful way. Okay? So you see how easy it is to have love in our life when we understand what's really going on? Even in the things that we are complaining about aren't love. But again, make sure it's useful. I'm not saying get into the trap of being abused and used and manipulated and hurt in an effort to love someone who's unlovable, to get love from someone who can never love you, and just falling into the patterns of destroying yourself, which we do as well. Okay? That's not love. It has to be useful. That's the secret. Love is useful. And then find out what kind it is. What kind of useful love it is. I wanted to add a few more things about hard love because it's the hardest thing to differentiate. The hardest type of love to get clear on if it's love or if it's not. It's important to understand that hard love is something that happens to you. It's not something you do to yourself. Okay? The moon, which is the foundation of your ability to have hard love, is a completely receptive planet. Okay? But it's not an active planet. If you're giving yourself hard love, if you're making your life miserable on yourself, that's not hard love. That's self-abuse. That's showing a lack of self-love and a lack of self-respect and the need to love something impossible. Okay? It's like the creature in the swamp is not going to ever crawl into the desert and say, oh, let's go to the desert and see if we can survive somehow. No, it's going to stay in the swamp forever. But if the swamp dries up, it's going to go, oh, I need to adapt and evolve. See, one thing is the creature in the swamp abusing himself by going to the desert. No love there. The other one is the creature adapting because the swamp is turning into a desert. Completely different situation. And it has to do again with this idea of Jupiter. Jupiter is the most spiritual planet. There's a lot of God working through Jupiter. Are you doing it to yourself, or is God doing it to you as something else? So when you go to the dentist to get hard love, you don't go sit in the dentist chair and say, hand me that drill, and start, drilling your mouth, right? You go to the dentist and you surrender to the dentist, and the dentist gives you the hard love. So if you're in a relationship that's hurting you, where it hurts, which by definition means if it doesn't feel good, there's a possibility of it being hard love. You have to go, am I doing this to myself? Am I hurting myself through my own actions? Okay? And that usually the story of that is, am I trying to love a person and who can't be loved? Am I trying to love a person who is unable to love me? The same way I was desperate to please one of my parents who could never see that I was caring for them, who could never see that I loved them. Okay? So that's active. It's not receptive anymore. Now you're acting in a way that makes your life painful. You're crawling out of the swamp when you're a swamp creature and going to the desert to suffer pain instead of nourishment. Okay? So, hard love between people is never something you do to yourself. You don't go find a person and say, I'm going to beat myself up for you. I will kill myself to love you. I'll do anything to get you to acknowledge me. I will do anything to get a pat on the head. I'll do anything to get your validation, and kill yourself for them and ruin your life and stress and stress and stress. That's not love. Okay? That is the exact opposite of that's exactly what we want to get away from, because what that is, it's following an unhealthy idea of love. As I mentioned early on, we get these ideas of love, of what love is based on our parents, and our emotions are responding to this. If we had a parent who was indifferent to us because they were so busy and so many important things to do, we find a partner who's indifferent to us because they have so many important things to do, and we want their love. It's like your heart's like going out, yes, them. And the person over here who's sweet and kind and caring and sees you and who's there for you, oh, I'm not attracted to them. That doesn't feel like love to me. Okay? We're running under those type of definitions. I once had a guy come in for a reading, and he came in with two charts. One was a chart of a wonderful woman. Nice benefic in the fourth house. No afflicted moons. The other one was a chart with like a tough planet in the fourth from the moon, a tough planet in the fourth. Just a woman who was going to be extremely difficult to love. Okay? And I said, well, you should take this girl. This girl is capable of having a loving relationship. I said, this girl, not so much. I said, but I can see by your chart, you're going to pick this girl over here. He goes, you're right, I think I am. I said, that's how life is sometimes. And he picked the Hellcat. Okay? And of course, it didn't work out. And hopefully it gave him the hard love and the lesson he needed. So we are attracted to that which hurts us, but that's not love. That's why we have to implement this definition. Is it useful to me? Does it feel good to me? When I try to love him, is it useful to me? Does it feel good to me? If not, stop. You have the power to stop. Stop and surrender. Stop doing. Just like you're in the dentist chair. Okay? So, hard love is the result of someone's actions towards you, not your own path of self-abuse. That you say, well, how is this useful to me to try to love someone who can't recognize it? It's not useful to me to put my energy into loving someone who can't recognize it. Therefore, I will stop and go to the very important love them and leave them love of Saturn. Love them and leave them love of Saturn. Okay? Otherwise, if you don't understand this point, you might just get yourself in a relationship that's painful get yourself where you're beating yourself up for someone, desperate for someone's love. You're never going to get it from them, and you're just beating themselves up. And your lesson in that one is to say, wait a minute, is this love? And is what I'm doing useful to them? Does it making them feel loved? Is it making them a better person? Is everything I'm giving them be good for them? Or is it enabling them? Or is it doing nothing? If it is, it's not love. So stop. Remember, we want every action to be a loving action. Venus, Mars, and Jupiter are love in action. Okay? So, it's really easy to see if what you're doing is helping someone. Okay? If not, it's not love, so stop it. It's your wrong definition of love, which is a definition of impossibility that will only cause you to burn out, overexert yourself, destroy yourself, and ruin your chances of happiness, because we need to spend every little drop of energy we have in the pursuit of love, in giving love, in usefulness, basically, right? If we want the most we can have in our life, we have to use all of our energy and all of our resources in useful pursuits, in loving pursuits. And then we create things, we have things, we build things, we improve ourselves. And then we're bonded in unity to beautiful, better things. And no one's 100% efficient. I ate sugar yesterday, No one's 100% efficient. Just like the best car, it's not 100% efficient, But the more we can raise our efficiency level to where the more of our energy is directed towards actions of love versus actions of non-love, the more filled our lives will be. And as we get more efficient, we'll just be like cars. They keep evolving every year to greater efficiency of fuel economy. We can do that too. In fact, we're all doing that over our evolutions. Okay? So watch out for that trap of pain that you can easily say, oh, this is just hard love. But it's only love if it's useful. That's the bottom line determining factor. And if it's useful and hard, who cares? If it's useful and feels good, who cares? The only difference is one is sustainable. The feel-good one you can keep doing and having on a daily basis. The not feeling so good one, a week at a time, and then a year off. A week, 3 months off. You can have it occasionally, but you can't have it on a day in and day out basis. Okay, so realize if you're doing anything in your life which doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel good where you live, it doesn't feel good where you work, the person you're with doesn't feel good, but if those things are useful to you, stick them out until they're not useful, or until something comes along that is useful and feels good. Until an opportunity goes to live in a house that works for you and it feels good to live in that area. Until you meet a person who's useful to you and feels good. Okay? And again, in relationships, hard love relationships where a person is useful to you, but because it hurts, usually don't last very long. They end pretty soon, unless you're practicing some kind of abuse like I talked about, where you're beating yourself up with no love happening. In that case, they can go on for years. But in a relationship of, surgeons, they get their job done as quick as they can. They come in, they take care of you, they cut you up, they sew you up, and they move you on. Life does the same thing with hard love. At most 2 years. Why 2 years? Well, because hard love oftentimes comes with the outer planet's transits. And it's possible for an outer planet to have impact on you for about 2 years. Okay? Usually it's 1 year. And if it's 1 year, it'll hit your planet 3 times. If it's 2 years, it'll hit your planet 5 times as it goes back and forth, retrograde and direct. There's never a reason for hard love to be more than 2 years. Okay? If you're still experiencing hard love with someone and it's been more than 2 years, it's not hard love, it's abuse. You are destroying yourself. You're following something that is not love, and you need to examine it in the light of these principles. Okay? And, so it's really that simple, but we really have to look closely at hard love. And it takes time to discern love in our life. And so we practice on little things. Do you want to take a bath? I don't know. Would taking a bath be good for me? Would it feel good? It would feel good, but I have a lot of work to do, and if I go to the bath, I'll be sleepy afterwards. So maybe it wouldn't be useful to me. Maybe I'll warm up with this blankie and start doing my work. Just these little things we practice. Is this a choice of love or not? By examining the usefulness of it. Okay? And there's always the amount of love we're getting too. It's a whole other topic really. I just want to touch on it. It's useful, but then this is more useful. Which one should you take? Any animal would they take the less nutritious food or the more nutritious food? Every animal out there takes the more nutritious food, right? So when you have multiple useful things in your life, you're a girl and you've got a lot of qualities that are giving you lots of suitors, you have a lot of possibilities now. How do you choose? You look, who's useful to me? How are they useful? On what levels are they useful? And what degree of usefulness do they have? The one you have most love with is the one that's going to be most useful to you. I don't mean this in a mercenary sense, but in the sense of really looking at your possibilities. Okay, and as you understand the material, emotional, and spiritual usefulness that we can have in people's lives and they can have in our lives, you'll realize how love really does flow out of this usefulness. Especially, of course, when you go into the realm of emotional usefulness and spiritual usefulness. We really need to assess people that we choose to be with on the level of emotional usefulness. Because that's where the love that we're really looking for is going to be found. Usually we don't even consider the realm of spiritual usefulness. But wow, if we actually do consider that, and we do seek that, and we do find it, we have a whole nother level of love. That's not going to be found without it. You can live without it, but really you should have it. And we'll talk about those levels in detail later. So realize that we're surrounded by a lot of love, and we have to choose always what's most loving. Not just love, but what's most loving. Okay? Because that's the only way we're going to have greater efficiency, more abundance of everything, more abundance of love, and ultimately more abundance of Jupiter, which we'll talk about next. Why is abundance of Jupiter important? Because our abundance determines our capacity to give. Our capacity to give determines the capacity of the world to evolve as a whole. It's affecting the whole world. It's affecting life. It takes part of God's plan. Which people play the bigger role in God's plan? There's the little co-stars and there's the big movie stars in every movie, including this world. It's the people of greater abundance. The people have an abundance of something that they simply can give more. Why do gurus play a big role? They have such an abundance of knowledge and love to give that they can play a superhuman role in the transformation and evolution of this world. Okay? So we owe it to God and we owe it to ourselves to seek out the path of greatest love in our life and not be restricted by lesser love. Because then we have the abundance, and that abundance is what we give to others. Without that abundance, we're limited in the joy the light and love we can spread in this world. Okay? And we're all spreading light and love into the proportion of our abundance. And we have abundance in proportion to the love we choose in our lives. Okay? So look at love as this thing you're bringing in to create abundance for you to give. That's literally what's happening. Jupiter's abundance, Venus, the sign of committable, chosen, sustainable love, is exalted in the sign of Venus. It reaches its highest point when it has abundance, for the purpose of abundance. That's what Venus is seeking. Abundance. It's a beautiful concept, which we'll talk about more in the next video. Okay. I hope that is enough on this very intricate, hard love subject. Okay. You guys can always write questions in, and I can always post more videos to answer questions if anyone is in a confusing situation or confused about this topic. Because this is the one we trip up the most. This is the one we're going to most likely go, I don't know if it's love or not, and maybe choose love when it's not. So it's really important to navigate this step, because you're going to have a lot of it in your life. It's critical for you, because you have to evolve. Okay? All right, thank you.